Right. Good. So, Mark, thank you for making the time today for this interview. Mark, what I'd love to do is just get a walk through how did you get started with Renmore AFC?
Tom, thanks for having me here today, and I'm honoured to be able to speak about Renmore Football Club, a club close to my heart. I used to play with a team called Carb Shamrocks in Galway in the mid '80s, and we're a well-known club. And Brother Justin, who was he was the Bernard Shapiro of Carb Shamrocks. He was the man who kind of drove that club. He left the club for one reason or another, and the club started to struggle a bit. So it was at a time around 1987, and I was very good friends with Bomber Noon, Owen Noon, and being friends with him, Bomber had come to St. Pat's School in 7th class, and I think that friendship meant that I joined Renmore. I was looking for a club with Carb Shamrocks gone defunct, I guess, and so I went up to Renmore in the summer of '87, and I was just turned 15 years of age, and I played for 2 seasons, under 15 and under 16, and I have nothing but fond memories of that time, So I was there for 2 years, and it started off, I think maybe I was attracted by the fact that Joe Keating was to be our manager that season in 1987, and soon after I was playing with Renmore. And then it was, I think Joe stepped back and Ken Beattie was becoming manager. And for some reason, Ken wasn't available, and it was then we were fortunate to get Dermot Call as our manager. And we had a fantastic 2 years under Dermot, and the time he gave to it. I now realise as an adult, involved with Mario and More FC, I now realise the time that's given by volunteers. And I look back now, and I'm more appreciative now as an adult about the men and the people that were involved in the club from a coaching perspective,
Absolutely. And Mark, then you stepped away and you obviously played football in the UK for a little bit. How did you get back involved in the club then?
I got back involved in the club, I'd say it was around 2004. I was 32 years of age. I had been playing League of Ireland for a number of years prior to that, and I retired or stopped playing because I was finding it physically difficult, and then I was to take a break from football. I'd just met my now wife, and my life was changing, and so I was stopping playing football, and I was going to pursue other things in my life, and that lasted all of about 4 weeks. And it was Tommy Bradley and Mike Crowe met me in the Maldron Hotel in Oranmore, and they asked would I be the new junior manager, and I said yes, and I said I'd give it 1 year, and I lasted 2. It was a difficult time being a manager. They were struggling a little bit in the Premier Division, and I think, I don't know, was it that they struggled with training facilities, but it wasn't as attractive a club to play with because of I guess all other clubs were upping their facilities, and it was hard to compete with that. But I got some good friends. It was like getting the band back together. I got friends that I played with. So we had a team of guys, mostly over 30, and mostly under 18. So we had about 6 under 18 players and about 9 over 30 players, and nothing in between. And it was a strange combination, but we had a good 2 years with some, interesting things happening, and some and firefighting at times, and getting guys out of bed to make sure that they could play. And it was an interesting experience. And now when I meet some of my friends who were part of that time, we have a few stories, and we tell some it's little anecdotes, and I have good memories and some less good memories of that time.
I can hear that. And Mark, I mean, you've been involved in a number of monumental moments in the club's history, I think, as well. Are there any in particular that stand out as those you're very proud of, or you look back on particularly fondly?
The couple of years that I played say under 15, under 16 for 2 years, and I played open age then as well with the team above, and some smashing players. I have my abiding memory of that is winning the under 15 Connacht Cup in Renmore, and on a wet day. I couldn't tell you what month it was when it was played, but even the semi-final, I think we played a team called Merville in Sligo, and we got the bus up, and we won that semi-final comfortably. And that whole, I suppose, journey, that cup run, was memorable. And at a time when your life is changing as a young lad, as a teenager, and you're impressionable, and your music tastes change, and your friendships change, and as part of underpinning all that time was my time with Renmore, and the joy that I had, and the friendships that have lasted since then.
Absolutely. I'd love to hear you were involved in the Hungary campaign where the team went to Massey, representing Ireland at European level as well. Do you have any particular memories from that time?
I do. Only when we've been talking about the 50th night, and I'm getting a couple of text messages from friends who are saying they're sending a particular text with the word Tomashy in it, and it's kind of, I think you had to be there to kind of understand it, and I know that there was a lot of hype about us going to Tomashy, and myself, Danny Farrar and Ali Neary went as guest players because we were playing with Galway United at the time, but we had a connection with Renmore. But I remember, I think the Galway Bay FM where we were playing, representing Ireland in a European competition, and there was a lot of hype about it, and maybe it wasn't as prestigious when we got there as it was being perceived before we went. But at the same time, it was good standard. There was teams from Turkey, Germany, and that. But it was it became obvious quite quickly that it was also a social event, and nights out and things like that. So as much as we did, and we went on to win it and played some good football, in spite of the fact that we were late to bed every night. Yeah. But I think loads of people who've been through tournaments and understand what that can bring. But ultimately we had to perform on the pitch, and we did, thankfully. Otherwise, I think we would have been. I think Justin Neary would have killed us if never speak to me again if we didn't win. So maybe even the late nights motivated us to, we have to perform better.
I think it's the feedback from a lot of people. I think is it also helped build the confidence of the club, and that led the following year obviously to taking the Premier League as well. Yeah. So that team building sort of experience as well was important.
I think so. I think there was that came through, no question. Like there was Donald McCaffrey and his dad was there, and Lord rest him, and there was you did get a sense as well that the people that were on that trip were very proud to be Renmore, and very respectful, and there was something lovely about those few days. It really was, and the lead up to it, and the fundraising for it, and it was something quite memorable.
Absolutely, yeah. And I suppose, Mark, when you think then all your time with Renmore and all your experience with it, what does Renmore sort of mean to you, or what has it meant to you across your years?
I think the fact that I had played with Cork Shamrocks, which were a city club, which weren't from any particular part of Galway, and I was originally from Cork. We moved up here in '79. My dad became manager of Galway Rovers at the time, and I guess not being from a place, I got a greater glimpse or an understanding of a community club and what it meant, to be part of something. And I think I really did feel that in those couple of years with Renmore, that you were part of a history. You the likes of Donald McCaffrey, the McCaffreys. You had Dermot Call. You had people that I think they'd remind you that you're part of something here. They're I guess in the 80s, I don't know how long the club had been going then at that stage, maybe 20 years or thereabouts, but you did feel you were reminded of how they got to 1987 when I joined. That your past is part of your club, and let's not forget that. So I think I was cognizant of that. I made feel it definitely that I was part of something important, and that Renmore community is still strong to this day. And looking at facilities and the work that's been done over the last 30 years since then, I'm proud to say that I was here for the few years I was.
Yeah, and what was sort of interesting, I think, is you look at the end of the 70s, so the first club sort of trophies were that 78, 79 season, and then I think the Reserve League, the juniors took the Reserve League in 81. They took a Dynon Cup in 84, but that Connacht Cup in 88 for you was like, it was like the club was still only beginning to really win trophies as well, so it was an important kind of moment for the club as well. Absolutely. I suppose, I mean, you've been involved in soccer at all levels and in different countries as well. Do you have any thoughts in terms of what you'd like to see happen in Renmore, sort of those next steps, or in terms of the development of the club?
Well, I just see what's been done so far with the clubhouse and the grounds here and the development of the pitches. So I think they can be very proud of where they're at, and I'm aware that the membership now is at a very strong stage, and women's football is very strong at the club. I think that's testament to the good people involved in the club. I would just hope that it continues to grow and consolidate what it has, and look forward to the following 50 years. I know that as housing estates mature and they go through different phases of recycling, where grandkids now arrive in the area and kids move into the area, but will never be the numbers that they were at one time when it was young families moving to an area. So it's lovely to see that evolution take place and being embraced by the club and understanding the demographics of a region. So I think it's lovely that the club have that insight and that wisdom that they can tap into.
Absolutely, no, completely so. Good stuff. Well, Mark, firstly, I want to say thank you for the time and for taking the time to meet with me as well. Before I wrap, is there anything else you'd like to kind of add to just while we're recording for the club as well? Any closing comments or memories or anything?
I just like to say that football brings people together. Sport does, and with Renmore, I'm fortunate that I have long-lasting friendships that stand to this day, and I'm looking forward to next weekend. I'm going to Owen Noon's 50th birthday party. One of my closest friends to this day, and it was Renmore Football Club that would have introduced me to the likes of Owen and others, and those friendships last, and that's testament to the platform of a football club that can help with that.
There we go. Absolutely. Great. Thanks, Mark.
Okay.